Hello friends, today I have with me a video on withdrawal of US and NATO troops from Afghanistan and peace treaty with Taliban. So let's get started. First I have with me a map to show the country of Afghanistan to all of you. Now let's understand what is the Taliban. The Taliban, which means students in the Pashto language, emerged in 1994 around the southern Afghan city of Kandahar under the leadership of Mullah Muhammad Omar. It was one of the factions fighting a civil war for control of the country following the withdrawal of the Soviet Union and subsequent collapse of the government. Within 2 years, the Taliban had gained sole control over most of the country, proclaiming an Islamic emirate in 1996 with a harsh interpretation of the Islamic law. Now let's look at Afghanistan under Taliban. During its 5 years in power, the Taliban enforced a strict version of Sharia law. Women were predominantly barred from studying or working and were confined to their homes unless accompanied by a male guardian. Public executions and floggings were common. Western films and books were banned and cultural artifacts seen as blasphemous under Islam were destroyed. Opponents and Western countries accused the Taliban of wanting to return to this style of governance in the areas it already controls, a claim the group denies. Role of 9/11 terror attacks. Following the September 11, 2001 attacks in the United States by Al-Qaeda, US-backed forces in the north swept into Kabul in November under the cover of heavy US airstrikes. The Taliban ran away into remote areas where it began a 20-year-long insurgency against the Afghan government and its Western allies. Now let's have a look at agreement for bringing peace to Afghanistan. On 29 February 2020, the US signed an agreement with the Taliban allowing for a formal withdrawal of US combat forces, its allies and coalition partners, including all non-diplomatic civilian personnel, private security contractors, trainers, advisors and supporting services personnel from Afghanistan. Under the terms of the agreement, the Taliban promised not to allow Al-Qaeda or any other extremist group to operate in the areas they control. The deal, titled the Agreement for Bringing Peace to Afghanistan, saw US and NATO forces withdrawing in earnest and set the deadline for a complete withdrawal of US forces by 1st May 2021. Now many of you would have a question, why a withdrawal of troops? Since the fight against Taliban began in 2001, the US forces have suffered around 2,300 deaths and more than 20,660 US soldiers have been injured in action. More than $88.32 billion has been spent just in the development of Afghan security forces, including the Afghan National Army and the police force. So this withdrawal is seen as a solution to end the longest war of America. Final withdrawal. In May 2021, the Biden administration announced that US and NATO forces would withdraw unconditionally by 11 September 2021. President Joe Biden defended the withdrawal of US troops, saying to trust the capacity of the Afghan military, who is better trained, better equipped, and more competent in terms of conducting war. On 12 July 2021, Austin S. Miller stepped down from his post as commander of US and NATO forces in Afghanistan. And let's hear this in Mr. President's words.
By our senior military and national security leaders on the status of the drawdown of U.S. forces and allied forces in Afghanistan. When I announced our drawdown in April, I said we would be out by September.
Seizure of Kabul. On 15th August, despite issuing a statement saying that it has no plans to take the Afghan capital by force, the Taliban entered the outskirts of Kabul from multiple directions. Following the collapse of the Afghanistan government, the general public fear a return to the harsher version of Islamic rule they lived under from 1996 until 2001. Shops, offices and schools remain closed in cities seized by the Taliban. Residents are staying indoors or trying to flee from Afghanistan. Total chaos and confusion prevail there. Now let's have a quick glance at the global impact. The rise of Taliban in Afghanistan seems to disrupt the global peace process. Different neighboring countries of Afghanistan, including India, Pakistan and Iran, have tremendous concerns about the resurgence of the Taliban. Now the question arises, what can be done to improve the situation? It should be remembered that unity among the nations will show the way ahead in Afghanistan. We should always remember that there is no path to peace because peace is itself the path. Thank you all my audiences for watching my video.